wall can stop this train. This wall is 20 feet tall and 3 feet thick. It's not going down easy.
Sometimes in life you have to wonder if this is the hill you want to die on. If this is really worth it to talk about it. But the rabbit hole I just went down has led me to an uncomfortable place. And look. I just want to preface this whole thing by saying that I don't have anything realistically against MrBeast. He's one of the most successful YouTubers ever, and I'm not here trying to start anything with him or anything like that, but I am going to say a few things because, well, honestly, this whole thing started not talking about MrBeast at all. It just led there. I was going to do a whole video about some abandoned locomotives that are sitting in the woods in North Carolina, alongside the tracks of the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad. And these two diesels were much like the Ring of Fire locomotive used in a staged train wreck for the filming of a movie, except unlike Ring of Fire, this movie actually did really, really well. It was known as The Fugitive and it starred Harrison Ford back in 1993. The film was nominated for several awards, and it was the third highest grossing film of that year, right behind Mrs. Doubtfire, and the number one was Jurassic Park, which, yeah. But the point was, it was a pretty good movie. Legitimately so. A lot of you probably have seen it. But in the film, pretty early in fact, there is a staged train wreck that they did decide to utilize actual locomotives to do. The two diesels that get wrecked are CSXT 1901, as well as Norfolk and Western 536. They are a General Electric U18B and an EMD GP30, respectively. The crash scene is pretty intense, and made for good cinema, no question, although the destruction of actual historical rolling stock does somewhat tend to bother people. Though it is worth mentioning that at the time of the crash, both locomotives were actually complete shells. All their useful components had been taken out, and the producers of The Fugitive purchased them at scrap value to save on money. So it wasn't like they were complete pieces, but at the same time, it does tend to irk people, particularly in the case of 536. The reason for this is that while GP30s in and of themselves aren't necessarily the rarest in the world, there are some in preservation, 536 was a very unique GP30 because she was a high hood. Only Southern Railway and Norfolk and Western ordered the GP30 with a high short hood. As such, there aren't that many of those. And it's just kind of annoying that a pretty unique piece is just sitting in the woods rusting away. Now, granted, you can go see her, as well as 1901. They're still there to this day. Plenty have made the trek or just gone to the railway. And yeah, I guess in a way they are now on static display. But as far as I'm able to tell, the railroad doesn't have any real inclination to make them not there. I guess it's more of a tourist issue due to the fact that, it wasn't a movie, a pretty good movie. And I get that, I do, but it is a shame that they're just gonna sit there forever, probably, until they eventually rust into dust. But you may be wondering, what the heck does this have to do with MrBeast? Well, in a perfect world, the story would end there, but no, of course it wouldn't, because for some weird reason that I don't fully understand, the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad just seems totally down with the idea of just smashing diesels into things. Now, again, I don't want to come down too hard on them because they do have plenty of preserved examples of certain locomotives, as well as two steam locomotives, both consolidations. So, nothing against them. I'm sure this was a purely financial decision, but there was at least one more locomotive involved with the production of The Fugitive that wasn't destroyed in that crash. I imagine this is because they needed an actual functional diesel to, push the shells that they were going to destroy. That is my guess. But 777 could not escape her fate, along with her sister 711. They're both GP7s. The 711 and 777 were the diesels purchased by MrBeast. Now, 777 had already been withdrawn as early as 2020 and used as spare parts for 711, though 711 would then be withdrawn in December of 2022, and both would be sold to MrBeast so he could use them in staged train wrecks for his YouTube video.
Will the brick wall stop the train?
Oh my god! That might have been the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, my mannequin didn't survive.
I don't know. I get the ick from it myself, and I've examined a lot of arguments going back and forth on it. For one thing, GP7s aren't necessarily super rare. In fact, a lot are even still being used in service now, believe it or not. EMD built 2,729 of them, which is a ludicrous amount for a locomotive. So in terms of picking locomotives that weren't necessarily of radical historical value, MrBeast did a fair job with GP7s, but I don't know, the whole thing just comes across as kind of lame to me. Maybe some people really liked it, I'm sure plenty of people did, it's MrBeast after all. But also, yeah, you could have, I don't know, saved them? Like, you didn't have to do that. But you did, for views, as one does. And I get it, I'm a YouTuber too. We do a lot of things for views. But you know what I wouldn't do is destroy a locomotive. Particularly ones that were built all the way back in 1954. Again, not very rare, I know, but still, they were pretty old. And someone pointed out, well, the railway was going to scrap them anyway. True, but he could have saved them. And then others say, well, what's the big deal? There's plenty of others not that rare. Okay, yeah, well, here's this. What if you were like a car person and you watch someone smash a frickin', I don't know, classic Charger into a wall? Would you not be slightly annoyed? Or how about this? How about all the gamers that got so annoyed at one of the Paul brothers, I don't remember which one it was, because he took a bunch of Game Boys and sealed them in resin for a weird fancy coffee table. Like, there were plenty of gamers that got super angry about that. But I assure you, there are way more Game Boys sitting around in the world to this day than GP7s. So, I mean, maybe it's just us in the train fandom. We get weird about certain things. But it just seems like kind of a waste. That's just my opinion about it. But then again, if they were going to be scrapped anyway, at least they did go out with a bang. You could argue that too. And yeah, they are fairly common, and diesels. It's not like he bought a preserved steam locomotive and did this. Don't you freaking dare! So, hey, it is what it is. And they're gone now. But can we just discuss the insane opposite of good luck in the form of 777? Like, she escaped the Fugitive issue by being not one of the ones they were going to crash, but then wound up being intentionally crashed herself years later. Like, what? I thought 777 was supposed to be lucky. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. And with that, a special thank you goes out to all my underwater train finders, some dude 267, Orange Glass, Benjamin Owens, Anzac A1, Arthur Roy, Jack Carson's Railroad Videos, Lord Off 444, iSurfer 1405, Charles Kwiatkowski, Matt Weaver, Tom Redlion, NS Productions 8104, Wheeljack 8401, Rescues Greyhounds, The Baxter, Caleb Crosswhite, Andrew Bowen, Josh Johnson, Caleb Brainwaters, Prez Drenton, Master of None, Travis Delinsky, Jared Brussel, JBL Explorers, Tommy Rossini, Ben Nicola, Panzer Kitsune 131-232, Mark Holding, G Wiz, Mr. Terevel, Hayden DeGrow, Metal for Life Guy, No, Kurt Forkum, Ohio Trucker 1, Mr. Sleepy, DM Tribal Typhoon, Harry, Drew Debris, George Kenny, Kevin Wood, Liam Wright, Morris Hillman Productions, NJ1969, Hendrick Motorsports Fan 5, Hannah Bird, Western Colorado History, AET Museum, Ryan Wehofer, Duraushi, Murder Drone Stall, Williard Conklin, Windy City Rails, A Person 723, William Nemo, Dr. Racist 78, She Mesu, and of course, my dad. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.